So in this segment, we're going to be talking about we didn't vote for this, anger over Brexit failures is haunting the Tories. So all along the Red Wall, those who gave the Conservatives their election victory in 2019 feel betrayed, with some turning to the Reform UK party to deliver on policies such as immigration. It's interesting that some of these Red Wall voters that the Labour Party are chasing are switching to the Reform Party. Goes to show you that the ones that are switching to Reform are probably xenophobic, especially if it's over immigration. Makes me concerned about the Labour Party chasing these Red Wall votes when these people may push Labour to be more xenophobic on immigration. Something we saw with MPs like Lisa Nandy and what she said about EU nurses and doctors. They took everything her constituents were ever working for. 3 years ago, last week, Boris Johnson stormed to victory in an election. 3 years ago. Oof. Yeah, it was more than last week, of course. Boris Johnson stormed to election in an election fought by the Conservatives under the simple slogan, "Get Brexit done." He called on the people to unite, let the healing begin, and to focus on the NHS. The Tories had broken through the Red Wall. They seemed all-powerful. It was Labour that faced existential questions, which they still face to this day. Johnson ran on a really smart message, end all the Brexit talk like he could, end the endless talk, and then allow the nation to move on and fix the NHS. All false promises, but it worked. He won, and Labour has gone back to being a centre-left, centre party, depending on where you draw the line. The NHS is on its knees and and beset by strikes, is desperately short of money and staff, with nurses, doctors and paramedics leaving in their thousands. Not a penny of the £350 million a week that Johnson said would go to the NHS has gone there. All that money, or at least most of it, will go on the divorce bill. Not to forget the lorry parks, the governmental support going to people exporting goods/services from GB to the EU. The NHS was never going to see that money for multiple reasons. Let's also not forget all the healthcare workers we could have recruited from the EU. That's all gone for the most part. Increasingly, the whole Brexit endeavour is viewed by business leaders and economists as a self-inflicting disaster that has severely weakened the British economy, despite continued claims to the contrary by Brexit Opportunities Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg, former Brexit Opportunities Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg. This is something I'll talk about soon. I've kind of missed the boat on that one. I was meant to cover it, but basically it was Mogg talking absolute nonsense about wine. We've talked about the different post-Brexit changes to the wine industry and how bad it is for importers. When it comes to things like taxes, the UK has made a load more tax bans based on the percentage volume in the alcohol, and it's just not good. For Brexiteers who followed Johnson, it was not supposed to be like this. He had promised them a new dawn of independence, deregulation, prosperity based on global trade deals and lower taxes. Instead, the reality is one of diminishing UK influence, dud trade deals or none at all, notably with the US. Oh, but we do have those memorandums of understanding. Extra bureaucracy, reduced exports, lower GDP and higher taxes. So let's break some of these points down. On independence and deregulation, if the UK wanted to deregulate, it would have made it impossible to get the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, which we are very reliant on. Also, these MPs have no idea where they want to draw the actual line to deregulate and by how much. So this was always going to be hard to achieve, especially when you combine it with the fact that the EU can put tariffs on things when we try to deregulate the production items we try and deregulate the production of. On the trade deals generally don't add a lot onto GDP, especially when you're a service-based economy. Services have limited coverage in FTAs, but FTAs can benefit agricultural powerhouses like Australia and New Zealand, and the deals we have boost their GDP a lot more than ours. We don't manufacture a lot in the UK. We don't manufacture a lot of goods, or we don't produce a lot of agriculture. We are also very reliant on raw materials from other countries as well to produce what we do. So that's why Brexit was more so a disaster than people kind of think. Finally, with the lower tax stuff, Brexit has cost the economy tens of billions of pounds for the taxpayer, depending on who you listen to. ITV put it at, I think, £40 billion of lost tax revenue. So how can you lower taxes when you put a £40 billion hole into taxes? If anything, taxes will have to go up in order to make the shortfall. The Tories could have made cuts to spending it, given we live in a country that has hospitals and schools falling apart. Where are you going to find savings to make? Some people put it at 100 billion. It depends if you look on the year-on-year figures or how you want to describe it. Some people put 40. I think it depends on the modelling, really. The question is, Brexit and the fear of a Jeremy Corbyn government helped power the Tories to an 80-seat majority, but disgruntled Brexit voters are crying betrayal. They make the case that Brexit has been catastrophically mishandled and needs new management. The question is, what did they want from Brexit? They wanted to end freedom of movement, so that means no more single market access, which we could have had, I think, under the May deal. They wanted their own deals, which would mean we can't stay in the customs union we had. We got, we got less foreigners from the EU now. What else do these people want? Worryingly for Tory MPs, that is precisely what's being offered by the Reform UK. The latest incarnation of the Brexit Party, or it's the latest incarnation of the UKIP Party, which stands at 8% in Sunday's opinion poll for the Observer, 1 point behind the Lib Dems. And that's kind of scary that the Lib Dems aren't doing too great. I thought they would do a lot better. But I guess they're more of a regional party rather than a national party, if that makes sense. I've seen people try and downplay the impact of the Reform Party, but if they take a couple of percentage points off the Tory votes, the Tories can lose seats to the Lib Dems or Labour, depending on the seat. Raab won his seat with less than 5% of the vote back in 2019, with the Tories being less and less popular, and the possibility Reform can eat into this vote margin, there's a strong chance he'll lose his seat. And that could be the case for a lot more Tories. The Tories are not popular. They have lost safe seats in by-elections. It's scary times for them. Before the party is even particularly well known, 19% of all voters questioned by opinion said they would consider voting for Reform UK and its populist agenda on immigration. You notice that word immigration popping up a lot here. Doing Brexit properly and lowering taxes, including 23% of those in 2019 who voted Conservative and 11% of those who voted Labour in 2019. And let's not forget that that Labour vote was a lot smaller than it was in years previously. So it does show you that the Reform Party are appealing to a lot of Labour voters or former Labour voters. All of this outside the Reform Party really doing a lot this week into both the Tories and Labour. My fear is that Labour will keep chasing these voters and sacrifice voters in the south, the cities and towns. One such convert is, this kind of stuff is all nonsense as well. One such convert is businessman David White from Barnsley. Until a few days ago, he was a Tory councillor in the South Yorkshire town, but then defected and joined Reform UK. He's one of the 9,000 nationally whom the party leaders Richard Tice says have signed up over the last 2 months. Reform UK has a broad range of policies beyond doing Brexit better, such as offering a pay rise to nurses by exempting them from the basic rate of income tax for 3 years. Crazy how Reform UK are offering wage rises for nurses. I wonder, how much that would actually raise, seeing as the union wants to hit around the 19% mark, but not really offering a pay rise. They're offering them a tax relief, so it's not the same really. He puts immigration, so this guy they're talking about here, David White, puts immigration on the top of his list. Despite all of the problems we're facing now, the cost of living crisis, my man's like, yo, foreigners. Immigration, he says, is one of the main issues from Brexit that people don't feel has been sorted at all, and it's off the scale. And then I despair at this point he makes. He goes, there's a hotel down the road that's full. I got some videos sent to me the other night of immigrants in this hotel playing football at midnight with the floodlights on and drinking coffee, and that just rankles people. It rankles with people. Oh my God, people playing football at night and drinking coffee. Oh, the humanity. Will someone please think of the children? God, get a life, dude. Also, I think he's conflating immigration with asylum seekers, because if he's talking about a hotel full of people, it's typically asylum seekers I think he'd be referring to, which shows how ignorant he is. But beyond the Reform Party, the Reform Party won't be able to stop channel crossings with right-wing plans. They would potentially be in breach of international laws if they try and just force people back in the water. Also, attempting that is super dangerous. Patel and Braverman have mentioned trying to get this done, but there's a reason why forcefully turning back boats is not happening. It's because it's incredibly dangerous and will lead to more people drowning. Throughout this part of South Yorkshire, as much of the Red Wall where there is disillusionment with the Labour Party as well as the Tories, Lynn Dunning has lived nearby in the former mining village of Goldsthorpe, 8 miles from Barnsley, for 47 years. People feel abandoned by both parties, she says, and I voted for Brexit, but what we got isn't what people voted for. I mean, it's true, you didn't, we were told we could stay in the single market and the customs union. Only a madman would leave the single market. That's what we were told at the time. We could be like Switzerland, like Norway. She says, it doesn't seem to have happened as it was promised. I think a lot of people feel that. It's not actually reported what issues she had with the Brexit implementation, I think, which is tragic. Tice says they are both variants of socialism, the Conservatives and the Labour Party. You've got the con-socialist party. Oh, look how edgy he is, the con-socialists. And then there are the red socialists, and there is no difference. I mean, this guy. He says the Tories have betrayed Brexit and that he wants to destroy them. I want the Tories out. I want them destroyed. I think they've ruined our economy. Don't underestimate us. They have deeply damaged this country. I'm 58. This country's never been in a worse state. And to be fair, I'm not 58, but I do agree with some of what Tice actually said, which is ominous. The country is in a bad state, but to argue that the Tories are centre-left or socialist really shows how politically inept someone like Tice is. The Tories' tax rates on lower earners isn't really centre-left, it's not left-wing at all. The national insurance rises and tax-frees are very regressive taxes that would be more a centre-right Cameron thing to do. Like, come on, dude. Tory MPs and commentators insist they are not panicking about the Reform Party, not yet at least. Charles Walker, the MP for Broxbourne in Hertfordshire, says they are not yet a problem, but if they are around during a general election and we have not sorted out our problems, inflation, the economy, small boats, then they will be. And to be fair, they're not going to sort out any of those. We'll still be in a recession potentially into 2024. They will be a problem for the Tories, the Reform Party, or whatever they call themselves. The Tories have always feared challenges on their right, hence why Cameron promised the referendum in the first place. He feared a UKIP challenge. Paul Goodman, the former Tory MP who now edits for the Conservative Home website, says the real worry was former party leader Farage returning to front up Reform UK. My sense is that most Conservative MPs are not afraid of Richard Tice, but would be afraid of Farage. Tice does not have the populist factor that Farage had. Farage is very good at tapping into people's xenophobia that some of the Brits have. Farage was leading the Brexit movement and Tice was not. Tice is not that guy. For Tories being less preoccupied with Brexit but concerned about what they see as their party's broader centrist drift, Reform UK is proving attractive with its deliberately wide policy. And if you look at someone like Rishi Sunak, he's kind of a Brexit version of David Cameron. I think they have similar ideological ideas. You got this guy Kabir Kerr, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, a mortgage advisor who lives in Norfolk, joined the Conservative Party in 2015, remained a member until a few months ago when he was tipped over the edge into joining Reform UK. Wow, it must have been a strong push. He goes, for me, the Conservatives have just become Blue Labour. I mean, these people have no political understanding whatsoever. I don't understand how they can have the policies they have and still call themselves the Conservative Party. They've just abandoned their principles. He complains about green policies, tax and housing, net zero goals, etc. Clearly man does not care about the environment. His taxes on landlords have absolutely gone through the roof. The supply of rental properties has gone through the floor. I've got landlords now calling me every week, I want to sell my property, can you recommend an estate agent? Meanwhile, business rates are killing the high street. There's no long-term thinking on anything. I do find it funny that he's crying on behalf of landlords, but it goes to show you that the guy who said F business really did mean it. Also, things like net zero have been Tory policy since Cameron was in charge. This guy really has no idea what he's talking about. David Cameron, who was famously in charge of the party in 2015. For Crudis, the feeling of Brexit betrayal contribute to his discontent. He says, we voted for Brexit. We didn't vote to annex Northern Ireland to be part of the European Union. We need to continue to control our borders. These are centre-right policies that the country voted for. These aren't centre-right policies. And now they've not happened, and we're not going to get punished we are going to get punished at the polls. And what we want the world to know is that this is not what the members want. Actually, you did vote for Northern Ireland to be part of the EU single market. That was in the Northern Ireland Protocol, which was announced before the 2019 election. So you are either ignorant or you're lying. Also, it's not an annexation. Some countries have internal borders. Brexiteers still don't understand that. And that's EU countries that have internal borders. They still don't get it to this day. But yeah, overall, what can we gather from this? Like, these people have no idea what they're talking about. Very politically inept, but they are frustrated with the Conservative Party and will switch. They will switch to the Reform Party, and these are some of the voters that the Labour Party is targeting, which means the Labour Party have to go extremely xenophobic and maybe have to out-xenophobe the Reform Party, which is terrifying, or they just won't get these voters and they will gamble very badly. And that's something I'm going to talk about with an upcoming video called Mortgage Man. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.